Svijet u 21. vijeku se brzo mijenja, a tehnologija pokreće tu promjenu. Zato je i pitanje savremenog obrazovanja kako uvesti tehnologiju u školski sistem. Velika Britanija možda ima pravi odgovor. Naime, od 2013. godine u ovoj zemlji počela je reforma obrazovanja. Programiranje je postalo obavezan predmet i to od prvog razreda osnovne škole. U praksi to znači da tehnologija dovodi do preokreta u načinu na koji djeca uče, a nastavnici predaju. Donosimo vam priču direktno iz britanskih škola.
Could I have everybody's attention, please? What you did last time was you created the code for your burglar alarm. And you did your code using the Make Code editor. And you might still be able to find that on your Chromebooks. If you can do that, that would be useful. Most of the microbits have got the code on them because you downloaded, do you remember downloading the code last time? So they'll have the code on them. And what could you do to check that the code's on the microbit? Can you tell me how you could quickly test that? Okay, a quick and easy test. Yeah. You press button A. What does button A do when you press button A? Somebody else, what does button A do? Yes. It's the reset.
Ovako izgleda čas u engleskoj osnovnoj školi na kom djeca uče programiranje i upoznaju se sa džepnim kompjuterom pod imenom Microbit. Naime, u okviru reforme obrazovanja u Velikoj Britaniji, prije 2 godine Microbit je po prvi put poklonjen svim učenicima 7. razreda. Ova spravica je proizvod BBC-a, Microsofta i drugih kompanija, a smatra se revolucionarnom jer programiranje čini zabavnim, opipljivim i jednostavnim za učenje. St. John's College škola osnovana je u 17. vijeku pri univerzitetu u Cambridgeu. U ovoj privatnoj osnovnoj školi Microbit uvode u nastavu i kod mlađih učenika.
Microbits are a little computer that you program using things on an app on a computer, and then you have to download it onto the microbit and then use the code. But if you get the code wrong, it won't work, so you have to be quite good at coding to do it.
We are making the microbits. We're using our burglar alarms, so we have connected all the wires, so when you press on the sensor, the alarm will go off. And on the microbit, it will show a sad face. So on the Chromebook, which is our computer, we have programmed our microbit to show a sad face and make it go off and then reset, because you don't want it to go off only once.
Digitalna pismenost i poznavanje tehnologije prioritet su u savremenim školama u Velikoj Britaniji. Naime, cijeli svijet je pred dilemom kojim vještinama podučavati učenike, ako znamo da zanimanja koja će obavljati ove generacije još uvijek ne postoje. No, sigurno je da će poznavanje programiranja i novih tehnologija biti neophodno.
So I think that there are 3 areas when we talk about 21st century skills or the skills required for the future generations for employers and employees. Then English language is a key one for communication. Coding skills is another one. And also what we call softer skills like communication, negotiation, those sort of skills also. And those 3 areas of skills together become very powerful for employability and for economic development. And so we felt this is the microbit element of that, the coding part. We can really accelerate the program through the expansion and use of microbit in this aspect.
Prateći promjene na tržištu rada, u Velikoj Britaniji kreirani su novi nastavni programi. Programiranje je postalo obavezan predmet od prvog razreda osnovne škole, a tehnološki uređaji se svakodnevno koriste u učionici.
There seems little point in teaching the children to simply recall facts anymore when they can look that up very easily. What they need to be able to do is to problem solve for the world around them. And by teaching them computing skills, hopefully we're enabling them not just to be consumers of technology, but to actually modify it to their own needs and make it work for them. It's very hard to predict the world they're going to end up in. So the more creative and open-minded our children are when they leave, the better.
Graham Hastings, nastavnik informatike, jedan je od pokretača organizacije Programiranje u školi, osnovane prije 10 godina sa željom da nastavni plan i program prilagode potrebama djece i nauče ih ključnim vještinama za 21. vijek.
We were getting feedback from the universities that people who were applying to do computer science just didn't have the knowledge or skills anymore and weren't even ready to start their courses. So a number of teachers got together to start lobbying the government to change the curriculum.
Stručnjaci ističu da više nije dovoljno da samo razumijemo kako neki uređaj radi, već da budemo i kreatori novog uređaja. Svijet se sve brže mijenja, a djeca moraju biti osposobljena za brzo razmišljanje, raščlanjivanje problema na korake i pronalaženje rješenja. Tome ih uči upravo programiranje.
Computing doesn't mean computer. It means the thought processes that would underpin any sort of problem solving. So computational thinking is really how you take a problem, even quite a complex problem, and solve it in a very logical way, a stepped way. You break the problem down, you analyze it, you look at the pieces that you understand and can solve, and you solve those.
Među ključnim vještinama za 21. vijek su i inovativnost i kreativnost. Tako se i Microbit koristi u svim nastavnim predmetima, ne samo u programiranju. Djeca uz pomoć ove spravice mogu isprobati razne ideje, od jednostavnih eksperimenata do kreativnih programerskih izazova, od pravljenja robota do muzičkih instrumenata. Stručnjaci ističu da su mogućnosti koje Microbit nudi u nastavi beskrajne, a da djeca već postižu odlične rezultate.
So this is a remote control vehicle and it uses radio controlled vehicle and it sends radio signals through the air to this microback, which will make it turn which direction I'd like it with this, because this is my controller microbit. The coding goes something like, when button A pressed, send signal to this. And when this receives that signal, it will turn which direction I want with these buttons.
U školi St. John's, koju pohađaju djeca od 4 do 13 godina, svaki učenik posjeduje svoj kompjuter, dok je u državnim školama u Velikoj Britaniji jedan kompjuter na 5 djece. Tu su i mnogi tehnološki uređaji koje koriste svakodnevno u praktičnoj nastavi, od najranijeg uzrasta.
So around the age of 4, we were introduced to computers and stuff. And I found the app called Scratch. And then I used Scratch to do lots of different things. So I've created games and I've created sort of like TV programs and things and stuff like that on Scratch.
We know that to get good mathematicians, we have to start teaching them from the age of 4 or 5. It's exactly the same with computing. So start very young and build a curriculum that is hands-on. It's not about sitting at a computer programming. It's about doing things that are fun and enjoyable and making things. That's why physical computing is very important. It's making things that engages the children and motivates them to keep going when things get a bit sticky, they get problems, they might be inclined to give up. But if they want to get their traffic lights working, then they have the motivation to do that.
We use technology to deliver a mixed methods approach to the subject. The children can do lots of individual research of topics they find interesting, but also they can enhance the lessons that we provide by using apps, websites, and various games to improve their learning either before the class or afterwards to consolidate their thinking.
Nove tehnologije imaju svrhu samo ako ih nastavnici primjene u nastavi. Iskustvo pokazuje da je za to potrebna promjena u pedagoškom pristupu.
The children are really engaged, so it's very much a teacher facilitating the process rather than sort of leading from the front of the classroom. It's giving them skills and strategies to be able to access the curriculum in a fun and exciting way.
Primjena tehnologije u učionici otvara i pitanje: koja je uloga nastavnika u modernom dobu, kada o tehnologiji često znaju manje od svojih učenika? I kako kod nastavnika otkloniti strah od tehnologije?
The challenge we are right at the beginning of is how we train teachers to make them confident to teach the new programs of study. But from the children's point of view, there is no problem at all. The children who are children, of the modern era, they think of technology as just an ordinary thing. They use it all the time. They're very quick to learn how to use it, and if you give them the technology, they will teach themselves. So the issue is not actually getting the children to understand computational thinking, coding. It's getting the teachers to be confident enough to feel that they can stand up in front of a class and teach the children. Often the best way for the teacher is not to worry if you don't know. Give the children the activity and then learn from the children. That works very well.
I'm very fortunate that I teach a subject that has, for me, the ability to be made very interesting and very hands-on, and that really suits modern students. They find rote learning, particularly on paper, very dull. That it's just not realistic for them in the rest of their daily lives, and it's not realistic in terms of the workplaces they'll be going into either. They find that actually interacting with materials online, manipulating them, changing them, laying them out in a way that makes sense to them, makes everything much clearer for them as learners. Simply being told something and asked to write it down or make notes or read something is quite dull. They do need to interact with it in some way and actually manipulate the information they're given.
I u državnoj školi Elm Park, koja ima reputaciju uspješne britanske škole, još prije 10 godina su krenuli u digitalizaciju nastavnog procesa. Prvi korak bio je obuka nastavnika i razvijanje njihovog samopouzdanja za korišćenje tehnoloških uređaja.
The curriculum is quite challenging in terms of what children need to learn these days, and a lot of staff would openly say that they were quite frightened about teaching some of the curriculum, particularly in computing. So we've invested a lot of time and finance in continuing professional development for our teachers, as well as ICT technicians who support teachers to make sure that on a day-to-day basis everything works.
Školu Elm Park pohađaju djeca od 4 do 11 godina. Već sa 5 godina počinju sa osnovama programiranja. Cilj je da se kod djece razviju nezavisnost i samopouzdanje. Zato je proces učenja zabavan, a učenik nije pasivan, već učestvuje u nastavi.
I usually learn about how you use the internet or like what's right or wrong to use it. And I know how to use apps. Because this is one of the apps that the teachers, Miss Sale and Miss Woods, told me. It's not that hard because all you basically have to do is write a title. So you press the add, you press add text, you do something, you press done, it comes up. And if it has a blue box around it, you can change the size, you can change the color of it.
Tehnološki jaz ne postoji samo između djece i nastavnika, već i između djece i roditelja. Zato su i oni uključeni u školske aktivnosti koje promovišu upotrebu tehnologije, ali istovremeno se edukuju po pitanju bezbjednosti interneta.
The level of technology they're using is beyond what I'm able to learn. She's far more advanced than I will ever be with coding and using technology. I try and keep up, but they learn too quickly. I limit how much time my children use technology. I have an older child at secondary school and all her homework is on the computer, so it's difficult to always manage her. Are you doing your homework or are you using entertainment? I have to be very vigilant.
Every half term we have a focus on an online safety session, so children know the risks that are associated. We use Safe Internet Day in February, so we do whole school tasks and activities and assemblies. We hold parental workshops for parents. Mrs. Sowles organised for the Breck Foundation to come in and talk to parents about grooming and online gaming, and that was opened up to the entire community. And we had our small hall downstairs was full of parents, and lots of teachers from other schools came in as well. So it's important that the children understand those risks of using technology.
Programiranje se ne izučava samo na času informatike, već se lekcije iz različitih predmeta povezuju, a nastavnici tehnološke uređaje koriste na kreativan način.
For example, in Year 4, our children were learning about the Victorians in history. So what they did as part of their computing lessons in learning to code was that they morphed the old Victorian toys into a computer program that had a function. So it was a Victorian teddy bear who would stick its tongue out and say hello when you pressed its nose. So we try to find creative ways to link things, but sometimes it is difficult with the computing.
So today we're focusing on using Scratch for programming and coding, and we've tied it into our current topic, which we're studying and learning about the Titanic, and the voyage of the Titanic and the sinking of the Titanic. So during the lesson the children will be creating their own Scratch animation of the Titanic hitting the iceberg and sinking.
We are learning about an animation app, I guess, called Scratch, where you can animate a scene. The scene we are going to animate is the sinking of the Titanic. It might not be a bit easier, but it's a lot more fun to use the technology.
Nastavnici zajedno osmišljavaju časove, pa su na ovom času spojili informatiku sa geografijom. Učili su da prave web sajt, a za temu su dobili lekciju o vulkanima i zemljotresima.
When we put the information on the website, we add images and we also add links to videos and writing, like facts about tsunamis and volcanoes and all the different types of things in extreme Earth.
And I believe that staff have also had to get used to the idea that teachers don't always have to be the experts. And certainly in computing and ICT, we found that a lot of our children actually know an awful lot more than some of us do. So we've used them and we've trained them. We call them our digital leaders. They support staff, they teach and support teachers in lessons, they run an after-school club, they trial all our equipment, they trial new apps. If they like them, if they can see the use of them in teaching and learning, then we buy them. If they don't, we don't use them.
I'm a digital leader in my school. So a digital leader is someone who helps out in class, and also they trial new things that come into the school. So if somebody gives us something to try out, the digital leaders will try it, and if we don't like it, then it will go back. Because if we like technology so much, how will someone who doesn't enjoy it?
Good morning and welcome to Arda Green Junior School. and our first video update of this academic year.
Ovako se đacima i nastavnicima putem videa na sajtu škole i YouTube kanalu obraća direktor Ardele Green škole, najavljujući događaje za svaku narednu sedmicu. Ovo je samo detalj koji ilustruje upotrebu savremene tehnologije u britanskom obrazovanju. U ovoj privatnoj školi nastavni program opisuju kao tradicionalan, ali usklađen sa potrebama digitalnog doba u kom živimo. Učionice su opremljene različitim tehnološkim uređajima, a vizija škola je da djecu ne uči samo programiranju, već i kako da stečene vještine primjene u drugim nastavnim predmetima.
My vision in education, I want children to be excited, I want them to be scared, I want them to do things they've never done before, I want them to try things, I want them to fail. That sounds strange, I want them to fail because failure is the first step to success. And so the whole notion of an adventure park about learning being fun, about being enjoyable, about something you can't wait to do, something you can't wait to do again, I'm really seeing that through the use of coding and computing in school. The brilliant thing for us, the learning is not just limited to the time they're in school, because children are taking the work in school, they're going home, they're storing in the cloud, they're refining it at home, they're bringing it back into school, they're having conversations with their parents, they're coming back with solutions we've never even dreamed on. How exciting is that? Gone are the days is here's the question, what's the answer? Here's the question, come on, where are the answers? Is that the only answer? Can we make it better? What can we do to enhance this? What can we do to refine it? All the sort of things when you're talking about computer programming in a sort of an educational environment where there's that excitement for music, for reading, for geography, for history. Computing is one of those things. But the brilliant thing is computing, great in itself, but it has the power to enhance teaching and learning across the breadth of the curriculum.
Lekcija iz matematike je mnogo zabavnija kada se uči uz pomoć programiranja. Kroz projekat kreiranja štoperice uz pomoć besplatnog programa Scratch, djeca usvajaju pojmove o jedinicama za vrijeme.
Today we were using unplugged activities as well as the program Scratch in order to build a stopwatch. So our lesson today began with the children off the computers up here pretending that they were sprites, and we did an activity unplugged. So that really got into the children's minds the idea of how time and the place value of time works. And so then we took it to the computers. All children had to set up a project called the stopwatch where they had 4 sprites. And each of these sprites have different costumes. So when you press it, when we code it to press it, it will count up from 1, 2, 3, continuing up to all the way up to 10 in this case. So the children had to name each sprite. So this one is the 1 seconds, this one is the 10 seconds, this is 1 minute, and this is 10 minutes. In order for them to be able to do their project, they had to understand the place value of time in maths before they could even worry about the code. So the unplugged activity really helped with that.
Well, usually we just do a project and we all do the same one, and we just have to keep doing it, try and figure it out ourselves. Sometimes we have to debug stuff, which is when if something goes wrong, you have to try and go back and look at the scripts and see if you can change it to make it right.
At the moment we are doing like this stopwatch, and it the numbers go up in the minutes and everything. I've showed it to my friends, but I haven't shown it to my family yet.
We look to have programs that the children can use at home and in school. We have programs for mathematics, for literacy. We even have one for PE, which actually gives sort of children the opportunity to learn dance and things. So if you've got that collaboration between home and school, when it's not costing parents anything, I think that's going to be a positive benefit. So the feedback we get is very favourable. They catch our vision. They understand how hard in the financial restraints that we have to work within. So, and I think our parents recognise that. I think they also recognise when we talk in school that what we're doing is equipping children with skills for life. These are life skills. These are life skills, you know.
I was quite shocked, first of all, because my own experience of coding, which goes back years from what I know of coding, it was very complicated and something that you did at a much greater age. It wasn't something that you would have done at a primary school age, but obviously as I found out more about it, I realised it was something that was being brought down lower and lower in the years, and was quite excited about it because I think it's a good thing for the children to be learning how to do.
I u ovoj školi ističu da je prilikom uvođenja tehnologije u nastavu ključna promjena u odnosu nastavnik i učenik, to jest njihovoj saradnji, a prvi korak je upoznavanje nastavnika sa prednostima tehnologije.
So in our school what we have, in the same as any other subject, we have a leader for computing, and she will give guidance, she will give training. She will make sure that she's monitoring the curriculum to ensure there is breadth, there is continuity. As teachers, they can be sometimes fearful of technology, particularly some of my more experienced teachers who perhaps when they started teaching didn't have access to smart boards or projectors or mobile technology. But actually, they're keen to learn. And one of the things we find with technology, the best teachers are the students themselves. And for us, it's been a great learning curve because how great for a teacher to say, I can't do that. Go and ask John. And John, the student, coming back. And so it's an exciting learning experience.
Naši sagovornici iz londonskih osnovnih škola naglašavaju da nemaju dilemu. Tehnologija mora biti dio nastavnog programa.
We've had many changes during our 10 years here educationally. I think if you're looking to the future, something that we're talking about and we're wanting to ensure for all our children is that we prepare them for a very different world. We need to make sure that our children are able to function in a world where they're probably going to have a number of different types of jobs. And employers, I think, are looking for completely different skills now. So it's about children who feel able to problem solve, to take risks, who are confident and can communicate in lots of different ways. And so I think educationally, we've got to start thinking about how we prepare our children and make sure they've got those skills, rather than that they know how many wives Henry VIII had in history and some of the general knowledge that perhaps was a real focus in previous years.
Skoro 90% svih budućih profesija zahtijevaće neku vrstu digitalne pismenosti. Kreatori obrazovnog sistema u Velikoj Britaniji poručuju da oni ne žele, niti je potrebno da od svih učenika obrazuju programere. Suština je u sljedećem. Učenici moraju steći vještinu kompjuterskog razmišljanja, to jest vještinu rješavanja problema. To će ih pripremiti za život i rad u 21. vijeku, vijeku tehnologija.